GearNetwork.com.
This is a Gear Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Mr. Perez, and you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, brought to you exclusively on Gear Network. Listen in.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Better Live Than Dead podcast. First time in a long time, but it doesn't matter because we're back now. Better Live Than Dead, episode number 94. Kind of a special podcast today. It's the NFL season Previewcast. Myself, Ryan Wolf, at WolfBLTD on Twitter, joined on the line by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Perez, at MRLG Perez. Before I let him say hello, just going to kind of give you a quick heads up. All NFL football, all podcast today, so if you didn't come for football, stick around, learn something, why don't you?
Episode 94. What's up, peoples? Good to be back. Ryan, it's good to hear your voice. How you been, man?
It's good to hear your voice too, man. I've been real good. Life's been good. It's been a beautiful summer. It's coming to an end, as we have mentioned, because the National Football League season is creeping up on us. Just a few days away from the opener in Denver with the Broncos and the Panthers. Another football season raring to go, and there's not a football season without some big stories to talk about, which we're going to hit today. I don't know about you, Lewis. Don't want to waste any time. I want to jump in head first and talk about your Dallas Cowboys.
My Dallas Cowboys.
Now, Tony Romo out for at least 6 to 10 weeks with a compression fracture of his L1 vertebrae in his back. A freak play, really. Didn't look too harmful at the time. Clearly, Romo was in some pain. Did some compression fracture of that bone in his back. No guarantee that he comes back, but like I said, 6 to 10 weeks. Now, Romo, this is not his first time missing some games. In 2015, he broke his collarbone, left collarbone twice, missed 12 games. 2014, he had 2 transverse process fractures in his back. Missed 1 game, and then in 2013, missed a game with a ruptured disc. His back at this point is super jacked up. But now, Lewis, the question I have for you, being the Cowboys fan, the resident Cowboys fan here at BLTD Sports, Dak Prescott, starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, coming out of Mississippi State. In the preseason, 3 games, 454 passing yards, a 78% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, no picks in 3 games. Can the Cowboys be effective offensively and win without Tony Romo under center?
You know, I'm hoping, yes. Like you said, I mean, the backup, the guy who will be starting, he looked pretty good in preseason. You know, it's going to be a little different beast when the first real game starts. And they're playing against the first game is against their rivals, the New York Giants, who have retooled their defense. And frankly, their defense is looking like it's going to be pretty scary this year. You know, I'm hoping that, you know, if he's out 6 to 10 weeks and you know, they could go, you know, maybe win 6, lose 4, maybe go 5-5 when Romo goes back in that particular division. There's always a chance that if Romo wins some games, they can still make the playoffs. But honestly, I feel like if Romo had not gotten hurt, this was their year to win it. You know what I'm saying? I feel bad for Romo. He was looking good. That was a freak play. Just the way he fell and got landed on, he got kind of crunched. And it may be time, I hate to say it, it may be time for him to maybe hang up the spurs, so to speak.
I mean, with Tony Romo under center, the Cowboys for sure had their best chance in a long time to win the Super Bowl. I mean, the defense is not as good as it once was. Even last year, it's not as good as it was last year, I don't think. But with Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield, we don't know what he's going to do. But with that being said, he's a lot better than what they've had in that backfield. I mean, Darren McFadden had a resurgence last season, which he also may not be back for a while, but we can just, I don't know if anybody paid attention in the offseason, broke his elbow. Apparently, as of today, still can't fully extend his arm, and they said that may never, ever happen again, which is scary to think. But anyways, Ezekiel Elliott, the best talent they've had in the backfield in a long time, takes some pressure off Tony Romo. Don't forget, Romo still has an aging Jason Witten. He's got Des Bryant, one of the best wide receivers in the game. Now you shake it all up. You've got a rookie under center, a rookie in the backfield. I mean, the Cowboys' offensive line is still fantastic. I don't expect Dak Prescott to be anything more than a glorified game manager, just because, again, you've got Ezekiel Elliott. But don't forget, like I said, he's got those security blankets and Des Bryant, Jason Witten, stuff like that, where he should be able to be an effective option for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I don't think they're going to rush Tony Romo back, because I feel like if Dallas is hanging their hopes on Romo coming back healthy and ready to take them to the playoffs, they're sorely mistaken, because I don't know at this point if you can put all your eggs in the Tony Romo basket just because, like, what happened. I mean, if you're banking on Tony Romo to be the guy and he gets hurt again, do you feel comfortable Dak Prescott leading the Dallas Cowboys down the stretch to a playoff run? Like you said, though, I agree with what you said, Lewis. That division is wide open. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit when we do our playoff prediction towards the end of the podcast. But that division is still wide open. I mean, like you said, the Giants... The Giants have gotten better, but can they be effective offensively and effective defensively to win more than 8 games? We don't know. So, like I said, we'll talk about that in just a minute. That's kind of a teaser.
One more quick thing. I kind of feel I would feel more confident with Dak under center than I would Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little more pessimistic on Dak Prescott, just because we've seen guys in preseason be fantastic and then come out and just completely crap the bed in the regular season. It's a whole different kind of monster. But if they can manage him effectively and he can manage that offense, there's nothing to say they can't go 9-7 or 10-6 and steal the division. We don't know, but we'll find out very quickly for sure. I think it's Dak Prescott's show. I don't think Mark Sanchez is anywhere near playing in Dallas, barring an injury. But
no, I don't think so either.
But I must say, though, Mark Sanchez, for being a draft bust, Mark Sanchez has done a very good job of landing on his feet whatever happens to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a serviceable backup. I don't really see him leading the team if something happens to, a couple wins in a row. But I think he'd be able to manage it okay.
I agree. I think if you need him in a pinch, kind of like back when they had Brandon Whedon, if you need him in a pinch, he should be okay. But if they can game plan for him, no, there's no chance.
Right.
So now I want to move over to, speaking of Mark Sanchez and speaking of we'll speak of his former team, the Denver Broncos. Now they're going to go into the season. It's kind of like the Cowboys and the Broncos are one and the same in terms of their storylines. Both going into the season with some question marks under center. The Denver Broncos are going to begin their title defense with a second-year quarterback, Trevor Siemian, under center, who's never attempted a pass in a regular season game. Now, can Denver's strong defense, coupled maybe with a run-heavy offense, with Siemian being a game manager or taking shots when he needs to, can they be good enough to make the playoffs, do you think? Or are we going to be talking about a Super Bowl hangover come January in Denver?
Hey, man, they won a Super Bowl last year with their defense. Say what you want to about Peyton Manning, but he was a beat-up Peyton Manning who could barely throw the ball, and their defense carried them pretty much all year. I don't think it's going to be the same this year because Peyton was able to make plays at times when it counted, but not the entire season. So, and their backup at the time, I forgot what his name is off the top of my head, who's going to another team now. He played pretty well. So going to someone who's a rookie, well, not a rookie, but someone who's never played a game in the regular season, that's going to be tough.
You're talking about Brock Osweiler, the starting quarterback now of the Houston Texans.
Brock Osweiler.
I certainly think that at some point in time, Trevor Siemian can be a serviceable quarterback for the Denver Broncos. You just essentially don't have to make mistakes because that defense can win you at least 8 games. I mean, no doubt about it. If you can be serviceable, again, that defense should be able to win you at least 8 or 9 games, and they might even be able to win you the division. But that division's gotten a little harder, which we'll speak about in just a moment. We're talking just about the Broncos at this point in time. I don't know if they're going to be a powerhouse. I mean, you'll see in my rankings later. I have them doing okay, but I don't necessarily think when it comes down to crunch time they're going to be able to win. But then again, like you said, referencing Peyton Manning, they won a Super Bowl last year without a quarterback, so they should be able to do some damage this year with a guy who can throw the ball. I mean, albeit he's not Peyton Manning. But Peyton Manning was beat up last year, so I think I think the Panthers against Trevor Siemian in his first NFL start probably going to be a bad day for Trevor Siemian. There's no doubt about that because the Carolina Panthers defense is still very imposing. Excuse me, they're very imposing, and I certainly don't think the Panthers are going to have a redo of last season, or they're not gonna have the opposite. They're gonna have a redo of last season. I think they're still gonna be very, very, very good, very hard to beat. I don't necessarily think they're gonna be the best team in the NFL, but they're still gonna be a very difficult football team to play offensively, even if not defensively, offensively. So I think Denver will do okay, but like I said, all these teams we're talking about right now, we'll talk a little more in just a few minutes regarding what we think they're going to do. The big story out of the National Football League, it's always as the quarterback carousel turns, essentially. The Minnesota Vikings lost Teddy Bridgewater to what is being deemed a devastating knee injury, which we've heard about it. It's a dislocated knee, torn ACL, probably more is torn. Once they do surgery, we'll find out, but usually when you tear your ACL and it's a complete rupture of the ACL and you dislocate your knee, usually you tear more or rupture more in the knee. Thankfully, from what we hear, it's not nerve related, it's not blood vessel related, or it's not no arteries, nothing like that. Nothing was damaged in terms of that, which is very good news. Because like you see a guy like Jalen Smith in Dallas who had almost the same type of injury happen, but he damaged nerves and he damaged other important things that may deem him never to play football again. So for Bridgewater, he's still young. He's got time to recover. So, obviously, the best goes out to him because that's horrifying. Like to see that unravel, watch it unravel, and see the ambulance leave the facility. See, the beat writers, one of our friends, Matthew Collar, formerly of WGR, now a beat writer for the Minnesota Vikings for 1500 ESPN in Minnesota. His first day on the job was Teddy Bridgewater blowing out his knee. So it's been Matt's doing a fantastic job so far in Minnesota, but one hell of a wake up call for you on your first day at work. You see the star quarterback blow his leg out, but Vikings GM Rick Spielman said just a few days ago, and I quote here, Lewis, so pay attention, "The one thing we will not do is put our organization in a situation where it's going to inhibit us or hurt us going into the future. People are asking for some crazy things. People think we're desperate." Despite that claim, Spielman went out and did the crazy thing. Acquired quarterback Sam Bradford from the Philadelphia Eagles for a 2017 first-round pick and a 2018 conditional fourth-round pick to replace the incumbent starter Shaun Hill. Now, with Sam Bradford, Lewis, being under contract for the next 2 seasons, is this more of an indication of how serious the team thinks Bridgewater's knee is, or how close Spielman thinks this Minnesota Vikings roster is to being a Super Bowl contender?
I think that it's more, I got to be honest with you, I don't think it's one over the other. I think it's probably about 50-50. They were obviously going to be a very good team this year, in my opinion. So You go and you get yourself an established QB who is good. You know, I don't think he's anything dynamic, but it'll be nice to be on a team with a couple pieces in place where he can, you know, manage the game effectively. And I mean, it's not like he doesn't have, you know, someone good in the backfield. He's going to have a great running game. He's got a couple really good wide receivers. You know, I think it's a little bit of both. You want to have someone under QB that's been in the game for a while, and Sam has, and I think it was a good move. I mean, will it pay out? I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, we're looking here, and I think it was a very, very brash move to make, because we've seen what Sam Bradford can do in the National Football League, and it's not a lot. I mean, he's better than Sean Hill. Right. Is he first and fourth round pick good? I don't think so. But then again, as we talked about with the Denver Broncos, as we talked about with the Dallas Cowboys, Sam Bradford just needs to be a smart quarterback and a game manager. I'm beating that to death today. But if anybody else, Sam Bradford can literally do the bare minimum and be fine, because there's going to be a game where Sam Bradford has to beat a team with his arm. Will he? I don't know. We'll see. But it's something where we have to wait for that to happen. But Sam Bradford has a stellar defense backing him up. And not only does he have that stellar defense like Trevor Siemian has in Denver, Sam Bradford has future Hall of Famer Adrian Peterson in the backfield.
Right.
And we've seen it before. I mean, we haven't seen Teddy Bridgewater unleashed. Bridgewater was a very good quarterback. He's very, very accurate, very good quarterback, but they still relied a lot on Adrian Peterson. I'm not taking anything away from Bridgewater. I think Bridgewater is one of the up-and-coming very good quarterbacks in this league, could be one of the best in the league if he continues that trend upwards. But I think with Bradford, he can be good enough. And I don't necessarily think he can be good enough to win the division, but I certainly think they're playoff worthy, that's for sure. And I certainly think, I agree with you on this one though, Lewis. I think it's more of it's an indictment of Bridgewater's injury, because if he can't come back next year, you have Sam Bradford in that offense for a year already. You can build around him and build to his strengths and shy away from his weaknesses, like we always talk about. Play to the strengths, because that's the only way you're going to win a championship, is by putting your quarterback in the best situation to succeed and putting your team in the best situation to succeed. But I think this is also, it's a little bit of, they don't know what's going on with Bridgewater's knee, because again, you don't know how recovery is going to come along. You don't know if he's going to be an effective quarterback, if his knee's going to heal properly. You can't guess that. You can't predict the human body. But I think if Bridgewater was healthy this year, the Vikings would easily win the division. So Rick Spielman goes out, and yes, they make a bold move. Like Rick Spielman mentions to Peter King of the MondayMorningQuarterback.com. He says, quote, "I made a bunch of calls. I'm not going to mention teams, but there was blood in the water and teams knew it. Price was too high. I didn't want to mortgage our future. Some teams asked for a first-round pick and a core young player. Says, I can understand the pick, but we worked too hard over the past 3 years to put all that time and energy into drafting and developing a solid core for this team. I was taken aback by who they've been asking for. Players who've been in the Pro Bowl. I mean, in the offseason, you got time. There's not blood in the water in the offseason, but now there was. So, I mean, he goes on to talk more about Sam Bradford. He says, I watched every game Sam played last year. The last 3 games, thought he was playing as well as anyone. I don't think he's ever been on a team with a top 10 rushing offense, which is just what we just mentioned.
Right.
And it says here that he was... Let's see. He says here that Mike Zimmer wasn't worried about the final game of the preseason, but obviously Rick Spielman says he was worried about the quarterback. Rick Spielman went to the ownership and said, I'm worried about the quarterback. They said, be aggressive as you have to be. Do what you have to do. And then he goes on to say, quote, I do everything in my power to always give us the best chance to win. And it came down to, this is what we're dealing with. I can't change that. We have a good football team, a young football team. Parting with the one, I knew we still had 8 picks next year, including 2 3s and 2 4s. What was really significant for us was the second year of the contract with Sam. No one knows how long it's going to take for Teddy to recover. Now, look at it. Dead serious. I wrote those questions before I read that article, so it's good to hear that we're on the right page.
Absolutely.
They think that the team is good enough to win now, but they also want to protect themselves in case Teddy Bridgewater can't be healthy again, which he should be. He should be healthy again. But with knees, you don't know how long they take. Some guys are back in 8 months, some guys are back in 16 months, some guys are back never. Just throwing out arbitrary numbers there, but you get the point. Now, moving over to my favorite part of the podcast today. My second. I think this is my 1B. Shocking and not so shocking things. Now, Lewis, I asked you during the week, off the air, to come up with one shocking thing and one not so shocking thing. I want you to hit the listeners hard. What's your one shocking thing that will happen in the National Football League this season that will have people scratching their heads wondering what the hell just happened?
The shocking thing that I believe is going to happen this year is that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to make the playoffs.
And why do you say that?
I believe, son of a motherless joke.
Uh-oh.
Man. So, I'm smoking a cigar like I normally do, and I'm still very expressive when I speak, and so I just waved my hand and hit the ash of my cigar on my car ceiling and had it spray ash all over me.
As long as you...
Let's say...
That's good. You can vacuum it up, but you can't fix the upholstery.
The upholstery is fine.
I don't... I'm just gonna pick up where you left off there because I think I kind of lost train of thought there, but I don't know if Pittsburgh not making the playoffs is super shocking. I mean, they're supposed to because they haven't been great. Roethlisberger was hurt last year. Their defense is up and coming again. They're on the rise. They're getting younger on defense for the first time in really ever. Since the last time they were young, essentially, so a decade and a half ago at this point, or a decade ago. But well, actually, even later than that, so like a decade and a half ago, because a decade ago was 2006. We're getting old. But I think that they can make a push. Yeah, I would say I would be shocked if they didn't make the playoffs. I mean, I honestly, a little bit of a spoiler alert for later in the podcast, I don't have them making the playoffs, so I was kind of not shocked by that. But
you're one of the few.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked.
You're one of the few. I don't think that they've retooled enough to really be as good as I'm hearing other sports people say they're going to be. I think that Roethlisberger's getting old. The offense hasn't changed that much. The defense is kind of lacking. I mean, the running game, which used to be a staple of the Steelers' offense, hasn't improved greatly. I think they were 1-3 in preseason, which I don't really put a lot of stock in that, but I think it's kind of maybe a sign of how the season's going to go. I was reading a report the other day that literally had the Steelers in the Super Bowl, and I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a little brash. That's a very, very bold move right there. Now, for me, and I don't think this is super shocking either. I mean, maybe because I came up with it, but I'm trying to shock the world here. I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win the AFC South. Now, I come with some statistics here. They finished 5-11 last year, but they made gigantic strides offensively. Blake Bortles, 4,428 yards, 35 touchdowns. Granted, a lot of that garbage time, but still, nonetheless, he still did it. Wide receiver Allen Robinson, 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns. Allen Hurns had 1,031 yards, 10 touchdowns. Now, their defense was disappointing last year, allowing an NFL second worst in the National Football League, 28 points per game. But they're a season older in that system under Gus Bradley. Also, they go out. They add safety Tayshaun Gibson, defensive tackle Malik Jackson, cornerback Prince Amukamara from the Giants. They drafted cornerback Jalen Ramsey, and they add last year's first-round draft pick Dante Fowler, defensive end Dante Fowler Jr., who missed last year with an ACL injury. I certainly think, without a shadow of a doubt, if the Jacksonville Jaguars can replicate what they did last year offensively and get better defensively, there is no reason why they can't win the AFC South.
I get on board with that.
I don't think, well, for me, too, sorry, I had to take a drink of some water here, take a sip of water, but for me, I don't think the Texans are ready to make that jump just because you've got Brock Osweiler. You don't know what he's going to do. I don't feel comfortable making that call. They have Lamar Miller in the backfield from the Miami Dolphins, who I think is going to be fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And maybe they go out and win 10 or 11 games and make the playoffs, but I'm not putting them in the playoffs. And with the Colts, their roster is still lacking. They still have not found a way to protect Andrew Luck effectively,
Nope.
and their team is not great. I mean, if they didn't have Andrew Luck, I don't think they would be good at all, honestly. I mean, they would probably be a 5 or 6 win team.
If that.
So now I want to move over to the not-so-shocking thing, Lewis. What's something that's going to happen in football this year where everyone says, oh, I saw that one coming?
When Tom Brady comes back from his suspension, he's not going to lose a game until the playoffs. I think he's going to be pissed. He's going to have something to prove. He's going to throw all over everybody. And they're going to make the playoffs just on that alone.
Well, I mean, mind you, they haven't lost the AFC East in the Tom Brady era when Tom Brady's been under center, so that's plausible. And we've seen it happen before. Last time they came at Tom Brady, he went out and won the Super Bowl. So I can see that. We'll talk more about that in a bit. For me, for the 17th straight year, I've got the Buffalo Bills missing the playoffs. And I say it's not so shocking because it's essentially a way of life. The Bills are good until December, and then by the time January rolls around, we're talking about the draft. We're talking about next season, and I'm kind of putting this out there, to reverse the juju, the bad juju. Throw out some negative to break up the negative, essentially. Now, I haven't watched a football game. I wasn't going to mention this, but I haven't watched a football game since like week 8 of last year. I caught some of the Super Bowl, got to see Von Miller do the pelvic thrust, whatever it may be. I don't know if I'm going to watch football this year. Just because I am sick and tired of watching the Buffalo Bills 16 weeks a year go out on the field and just crap all over themselves. And don't get me wrong, I think the team is a lot better. I mean, defensively, they've got a lot of holes. You know, they're gonna do a lot worse without Shaq Lawson in the lineup than when they have him. Or not Shaq Lawson. I'm making names up over here. With their top draft pick in the lineup, they're going to be doing a lot better with him in the lineup than without him. But he's not going to be around for a while, so it's something where. It's something where I don't know, and I was right about Shaq Lawson. I don't know why I'm doubting myself. I'm an idiot over here. Don't mind me.
I was going to say, no, I think you're right.
Yeah, I just get on a roll, and I just doubt myself. It's happened before. It's the 94th episode of the Better Live Than Dead podcast. You've seen this happen just a few times. But the defensive line, they're missing Marcel Darius due to suspension. Shaq Lawson's out. I mean, the cornerbacks are good. Safety, if Aaron Williams can stay healthy, that's good. Linebackers, I mean, Reggie Ragland it'd be really nice to have him. So I think they're going to hurt defensively. But you've got Rob Ryan in there helping defensively, and maybe he can shake up some magic, but I'm not sure. Now, offensively, I think the Bills are going to be one of the better teams in the league offensively. You've got another year of Tyrod Taylor. They've completely, if not last year, this year, have completely centered the offense around him. Even with LaShawn McCoy, even with Sammy Watkins, he is the focal point of the offense. If LaShawn McCoy can stay healthy, if Tyrod Taylor can stay healthy, if Tyrod to Sammy Watkins is viable, and they should throw the ball to Sammy as much as humanly possible because he's a freak of nature on the field. He's a fantastic football player. But I just think when it comes down to it, the Buffalo Bills are not good enough to make the playoffs. And you know what? I would love to be wrong about this. Because even if the Bills make the playoffs but lose out in the first game, who gives a damn? They haven't made the playoffs in 16 years.
Right.
I was like 8 years old the last time the Bills made the playoffs. I'm almost 25, guys. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, to quote Vince Lombardi, what the hell is going on, guys? Like, but again, I'm going a little superstitious with this pick, but I'm also going logical because, again, if the Bills make the playoffs, if the Bills miss the playoffs, Lewis, would you be surprised?
No.
My point exactly. Now, we're going to move over to the part where myself and Lewis make asses of ourselves. So keep this in mind for the future when February rolls around and we have the Super Bowl Team X versus Team X or Team Y versus Team Z, AFC versus NFC, however you want to put it, and then you can come back and tell us how stupid or how right we were. Now, Lewis, I will give my AFC, then you give your AFC, then I want you to give your NFC, and then I'll give my NFC, so we can kind of shake it up a bit. Top 6, okay. AFC, I've got the Bengals. Defense is still fantastic. Andy Dalton is still serviceable. He can do the job. I've got no problem there. The Patriots, number 2. Don't piss Tom Brady off, and the Patriots never lose the East. There's 2 reasons right there. Number 3, I've got the Denver Broncos solely because of their defense. I'm thinking maybe 10-6, 11-5 will do it. I've got the Jaguars 4 as the AFC South champions. Again, probably 10-6, 11-5. My first wild card, kind of a bit of a shocker, but not really if you've been paying attention to out west, the Oakland Raiders. If they don't make the jump this year, I'm not sure when they're going to do it. Their offense is fantastic. Their defense is fantastic. The coaching has been great. They should be ready to make that jump from perennial loser to a playoff contender. I'm not saying they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. I'm just saying, watch out. They're a fantastic team, both offensively and defensively. Plus, they're really young. Wrapping up the field in the AFC, I have the Indianapolis Colts. We've talked about them before. I don't think they go too far, but they're in the playoffs.
I get on board with that.
Now, who do you have AFC 1 through 6?
Ooh, you guys almost had an accident. All right, so number 1, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I'm just playing. I don't have them as number 1. I got Cincinnati as number 1. I got Cincinnati as number 1 also, followed by the New England Patriots, followed by Houston. I think they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but not go far in the playoffs. Then I have Kansas City, Oakland, and then Tennessee.
I think with I like that, but I think with Tennessee, I think they might be a year away just because they're still getting better. But I mean, they've got Henry, they've got in the backfield, they've got Henry, they've got I just completely forgot his name. I'm seeing his face, but I'm forgetting his name. They've got Marcus Mariota. They've got a young group of wide receivers. They've got DeMarco Murray. That's the guy I was thinking about. Defense is up and coming, but I don't mind that. I think in the top 3, Here's my another mini prediction. I think the top 3 of the AFC is going to be a lot stronger than the bottom 3. We may see some surprises in the bottom 3, but we'll see what happens. Now, for the NFC, who do you have?
First of all, I agree with you what you were saying about Oakland. You know, their defense is improved, their offense is improved. Carr, I think, is going to be a great quarterback. If they don't make the jump this year, then I don't know what's holding them back. So, the NFC, I had to rework it because I had Dallas as number 1 until Romo got hurt. So, coming out of the NFC, number 1, I have Seattle. I think they're going to be a tough team again this year. And I think they're going to be slightly better than Carolina, who I have number 2. Then I have Atlanta, Green Bay, Minnesota, then the Cowboys.
Okay. For me in the NFC, until further notice, barring health, I have the Arizona Cardinals, the best team in the NFC. No reason otherwise, I think. They've got David Johnson, who's a year older, year better, expected to be one of the best running backs in the league this season. You've got Carson Palmer, who's fantastic. You've got John Brown, Larry Fitzgerald. You've got a fantastic group offensively. Defensively, it goes without saying. They're the best in the league. No doubt about that. I've got the Panthers 2. Again, ain't broke, don't fix it. Cam Newton, offense is great. They get Kelvin Benjamin back. Defensively, they're still fantastic. 3, I originally was going to go Minnesota because of Bridgewater. But with Minnesota losing Teddy Bridgewater, I'm putting Green Bay to win in the NFC East. I've got Washington because they picked up Josh Norman. Again, it's another year in the system of Kirk Cousins under Gruden, under Jay Gruden. I think until proven otherwise. I mean, with Dallas losing Romo, like we said, I probably would have had Dallas here. But there's so many question marks in Dallas. There are so many question marks for the Giants. I think that in Philadelphia, I have no idea what's going on with them. I mean, Carson Wentz is going to start the season under center, but we'll see what happens there. So I'm comfortable going Washington 4. 5, I've got Seattle, just because it's going to go either way. Whoever wins the West, second place gets the first wild card, I think. So that's a toss-up between Seattle and Arizona, but I still think Arizona is better than Seattle. And then rounding up the tail end in the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I don't know how good that's going to turn out for Minnesota, just because, again, we don't know what Sam Bradford's going to do. But, hey, I still have them making the playoffs, and that might be a good thing for Bradford. Maybe it'll be a nice little career resurgence to be in a good offense with a good defense, and he can prove his worth again. But I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself here.
Understandable.
Now, in the AFC Championship, who you got?
The AFC Championship, I got New England versus, I don't know. I didn't look at it that far. I just have New England in there.
Okay, so I would assume you have New England winning?
Yes.
Okay, what about the NFC Championship?
NFC, I got Dallas versus Carolina.
Okay. For AFC, I have, and who do you have winning that game?
Dallas.
In the AFC, I've got the Bengals and the Patriots, just because, like I said, I think the top half would be because there's 6 teams, idiot. I should learn math someday. It would be awesome. The top half of the AFC is better than the bottom half. With the Bengals, Patriots, Broncos being in the top half, I don't think the Broncos are good enough to go back. So I'm just by default going Bengals, Patriots, with the Patriots winning. NFC, I've got Cardinals, Packers in the NFC. with, again, Cardinals defense being better than the Packers offense. So I've got Cardinals Patriots in the Super Bowl.
So who you got winning the Super Bowl?
The Patriots, for one specific reason. You don't piss Tom Brady off.
Right.
We've seen it happen multiple times. What happens? He goes out and wins.
Yes, he does. Don't want to piss him off.
Who do you have? Who do you have winning the Super Bowl here, Lewis?
But I do not want the Patriots to win another Super Bowl.
Me either. But I'm just accepting it's going to happen.
So, even though it's a long shot, especially since we don't know about Romo's health, going with the Dallas Cowboys winning their 6th Super Bowl title and tying the Pittsburgh Steelers for the most in the all time.
So thinking logically though, who's going to win?
Dallas Cowboys.
Sorry, I had to take a shot there.
You know what? Honestly, if we were to go logically, I could see either Arizona or Carolina being in the Super Bowl. I think Carolina has something to prove. So I can see Carolina making it and possibly winning.
I mean, historically, as we know, we don't see teams go back-to-back. We saw Seattle do it, win it, and then lose it. Maybe Carolina can be the opposite and lose it and then win it. Kind of humble themselves. Right. You know, we need to go the extra mile to win it. Here's what we got to do. And maybe. I mean, I'm not counting out Arizona or Carolina, but I certainly think that the final 4 teams in the National Football League are head above the competition. And maybe Oakland gets on a run and makes it to the AFC Championship game. Or maybe, I don't know, Jacksonville surprises or something crazy. Or maybe the Bills make the playoffs and end up in the AFC Championship game. Or maybe Minnesota goes crazy with Sam Bradford. I mean, I need to stop drinking at this point in time because I'm sounding like I'm a little crazy at this point. But you never know. I mean, football is seemingly easier to predict in terms of who's going to win and who's going to lose over a season because there's 16 games. The talent disparity is obvious. I mean, if you put the Cardinals against the Rams, well, I mean, because I guess that's tough because the Rams play people hard. But if you put the best team against the worst team, it's kind of obvious who's the best team. I mean, 9 times out of 10. So it's a little easier to predict, but we always seem to make asses of ourselves. So we'll see what happens.
I think the Rams are going to make a little noise this year.
Yeah, I don't know if Jared Goff is going to make any noise though, because he's been pretty disappointing. He's got some stuff to learn. But maybe Case Keenum can get himself a longer NFL future by steering that offense in the right direction. I mean, they've got Keenum. They've got some good wide receivers. They've got Kenny Britt. They've got Todd Gurley in the backfield. They've got a very good defense, very underrated defense. I mean, people know they're good, but I think they're better than what people think they are. So maybe,
right.
I mean, the NFC West is hard. You've got the Cardinals and you've got the Seahawks, but maybe the Rams can sneak in and win a couple more games and make the playoffs. We don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens in football this year. As in every year, it's always interesting to see what happens and see who wins and how things work out. But, we're here. We're here to talk, and we're here to break it down for you. I'm not sure if we're going to break it down every week, but you know what? We will we'll be here enough to make it worth your while, for sure.
Absolutely. Now
I want to say, Lewis, I want to thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. I want to appreciate everyone. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I want to say thank you so much for sticking around. Episode 94 of the BLTD podcast, the National Football League season previewcast. I am Ryan Wolf at WolfBLTD on Twitter. Lewis is at MRLG Perez on Twitter. Lewis, any closing words before we decide to wrap this guy up?
Just looking forward to another football season. I will be watching the games to see what's going on, and I'm glad we were able to get this in. It's been a couple crazy weeks for me, so it's nice to be able to just kind of decompress and talk some sports.
It's very. I mean, it's been life has been crazy, but that's what that's really what the end of summer does to everybody. At that point, it's you get to the point where, hey, summer's coming to an end. We got to get everything finished up, figured out, all that stuff. So glad to be back. Glad to have you back, and we'll talk to everybody sometime soon. Now, as we always do, Lewis, gotta let them know we are better live than dead.
You're not.
We will catch you sometime very soon. Again, thank you for tuning in, everybody. You want to talk junk to us? BLTDsports.com, at BLTDsports on Twitter, Facebook.com/BLTDsports. Again, I am at WolfBLTD. Lewis is at MRLG Perez. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Have a good one.
Peace.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.